Every once in a while, a piece of gear comes along that isn't just an amp, it's a piece of history. The Marshall JCM 800, especially the original 2203, defined an era of tone. From the early 80s onward, it became the sound of rock. Raw, punchy, and unapologetically alive. I've captured a lot of incredible amps over the years, modern masterpieces, boutique reissues, and everything in between, but I've always had my eye on finding the right vintage 2203, not just one that sounds good, one that truly embodies what made the original so special. And after quietly searching for quite a while, the right one finally found its way into my studio. This is a 1981 Marshall JCM 800 model 2203, completely original, and today it's been captured in ToneX V2 as the JS Vintage 2203 Ultimate and DI Collection. These tones are everything you'd expect from a true vintage 2203, the clarity, the bite, that unmistakable British roar that changed how guitarists chased tone for decades. And if you stick around till the end, we might just take a quick listen to where the story went next. But first, let's hear what makes this 1981 classic so timeless. All right, so first things first, I'm here in ToneX app. I'm going to just take you through a quick rundown of what's happening with this collection. So like I said, this is based off of my 1981 Marshall JCM 800 100-watt model 2203. The naming convention is JS, my initials as always. Vintage 2203 is the name of the collection. You're going to see a number, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then two 10s with an H or an L after it. So the H signifies the high input was used. And I'm going to have one here where the preamp gain was on 10, but the low input so we can get a nice cleaner sound. These are captured through the matching 1981 Marshall Rola Celestion G12H65 412 cabinet. But I also wanted to give a different flavor with this, so I captured these also through a 112 Celestion Heritage G12M20 Greenback speaker, which sound really, really killer as well. And then I also have the DI captures, which are just raw DIs that you can load in your own IR. I get you started with a custom IR of my incredible 212 G12H75 Greenback loaded cabinet mic'd with a Cascade Fathead mic, just to get you up and running, but you can just simply swap that out. These are just raw DI. So let's take a listen with some different guitars and some different pickups to see just how these sound. All right, so I figured a classic amp like this 1981 Marshall JCM 800 deserved to be played, first of all, with a classic guitar. So this is my new Gibson Les Paul Custom Shop 59 reissue. Beautiful, beautiful guitar. We'll start here on the bridge pickup. I'm on the low input with the preamp gain on 10. So this is as clean as these are going to get. So some beautiful tones there. We'll take a listen with some single coils later. Now, moving on to the next level of gain, we go into the high input preamp gain on 4. Some beautiful crunchy tones here. Moving on to the next level of gain, I really tried to get this captured at different subtle gain levels. So we move that preamp gain up to 5 and it just starts breaking up and opening up a little bit more. Move on to gain level 6. Pushes it a little more. Gain level 7. Now you can really hear this starting to open up. And then on to the final gain level with the amp wide open. Beautiful stuff. These always sound nice, this sort of level of gain with a little bit of tape delay on it. Now let's take a listen to that in comparison with the Greenback cab. So this is on that same higher gain level. Completely different vibe. Ultra cool though, and I think a real beautiful complement to that original Marshall Rola Celestion cab. And of course we have all those same gain levels here. So a lot of different flavors here. Moving up the gain level. And finally to that last level of gain. Again, we can throw some really nice tape delay on that. And we also have the DI captures. I'll go through these really quick. This is with the IR that I've chosen. Again, all these same gain levels. Down to the clean ones here. Of course, these are going to sound very different depending on the IR you choose. And finally, the last level of gain. So some beautiful stuff. Let's run through these quickly with some single coil pickups. All right, so let's move back to the top here to the original Rola Celestion cab, but this time I'm going to be using my beautiful 50s custom shop Strat. We'll start at the lowest gain level here on the neck pickup. Bridge pickup. Moving up a gain level. Another gain level up. And moving down to the Greenback captures, bridge pickup. Moving up a gain level. And of course, these always clean up nicely with that volume rolled back. All right, very cool. So I usually don't do this. I usually try to focus on one collection, but I also dropped quietly an all-new version of a different amp I have, and I thought it would be kind of cool to just quickly run through those. It's of my early 90s Marshall JCM 900 Model 4500, which was basically the next step in the Marshall line of amps after these Marshall JCM 800s in the 1980s. So let's take a quick listen through those. So here we are over at the JS Brit 900. We have the DC, which is going to be the double cream. These are captured through my 212 G12H75 Greenback loaded cabinet. I love that cab. We also have the DIs. We also have the G1265 Rola Celestions, the same cab we use on the JCM 800. I thought that would be kind of a cool pairing. And then some vintage 30s as well. And what I did here is 3 captures on each channel. So channel A goes from clean, edge of breakup, crunch, and then getting into channel B, which is the all-out distortion channel. So you're going to see A1, A2, A3 is channel A, 3 different gain levels. B1, B2, B3 is channel B, 3 different gain levels. Starting here on the cleanest setting, back with my 59 Les Paul reissue. This is the Celestion G12H75 Greenback cabinet. Nice clean stuff. But as we move up through that, gets a little edge of breakup. And then as much gain as we're going to get out of that channel A. It's a different kind of gain than what's going to be on channel B. Channel B. Second level of gain. Final level of gain. Now I also have the DIs paired up with that same Greenback IR. But you can pair these up with whatever you would like. Different flavor here. Now moving on to the Rola Celestion cab, this is the 412 cab. This is the 1981 cab that paired up with the JCM 800. Really nice stuff. And one of my favorites, the 212 Rev Amplification Celestion V30 loaded cab. Some really surprisingly great clean tones out of that amp. Again, we could throw some really nice tape delay on that. So a lot of killer flavors of Marshall tones there. All right, so there you have it. What do you guys think? So I wanted to show you both those collections. Those are two separate collections. So we have the Brit 900, which we just looked at there, based off of my early 90s. Marshall JCM 900 Model 4500 head. And then we had the original collection we talked about today, the JS Vintage 2203, which is of my vintage 1981 JCM 800 2203 model. Both killer amps. You're going to have a ton of great Marshall tones there if you're so inclined and want to go grab a copy. The links are below to both of those collections. You can go check out the demo videos on the product page over on my website, and I really do appreciate you taking a look at them. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm sorry for noodling so much, but I really wanted to let you hear these through some various guitars, different pickup selections, and give you enough to kind of let those tones sink in. So I'm going to leave you today with the full-blown demo video listening to the Vintage 2203 Ultimate and DI collection utilized together in a full production. This is a song featuring my really good friends Marco Miniman on drums and Jason Henry on the bass guitar. They absolutely knocked it to the park on this song, and I think the vintage 2203 JCM 800 tones suited it very nicely. Thank you guys again so much for tuning in. Again, the links are below if you're so inclined to want to grab a copy of these tones. Please like the video, share it with anybody you think would get some use or enjoyment out of watching it. Also, please subscribe to the channel. Hit the little bell notification to get notified when I put new content. I'll be back really soon with some more. Enjoy the music on the way out, and we'll talk very soon.